It all began with a tremor that no scientist could explain. One moment, Metropolis shimmered under the morning sun. The next, a rip tore through the sky. Energy crackled like thunder. And somewhere across the city, a man in red and blue looked up, sensing something wrong. That man was Superman, the Man of Steel, protector of truth and justice. But what he didn't know was that, at that very same moment, in another world entirely, another red and blue hero was swinging across New York City, trying to make rent. Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, was doing what he always did, saving lives, cracking jokes, and trying not to be late for his photography job at the Daily Bugle. But today wasn't going to be normal, because the worlds of DC and Marvel were about to collide, literally. It happened when a burst of cosmic energy enveloped both worlds, a wave that twisted dimensions and rewrote physics. To humans, it was just a strange aurora in the sky. But to heroes like Superman and Spider-Man, it felt like reality itself had hiccuped. Both sensed it, a shift, like their universes brushing against something alive. At the same time, two of the most dangerous minds in existence were watching, Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus. Each in their own world, each with their own obsessions, but both feeling an opportunity in the chaos. An opportunity to finally crush their greatest enemies. Luthor wanted revenge on Superman. Octavius wanted to prove his intellect could outmatch Spider-Man's agility. And now, reality had just given them a playground big enough for both. When Superman took to the skies, the first thing he noticed was that the air didn't feel right. Gravity pulled slightly differently. The light from the sun felt warmer, weaker. He wasn't in Metropolis anymore. Below, a sprawling city stretched endlessly. Towers, billboards, and streets packed tighter than any he'd seen. This wasn't his world. Then came the shout. "Hey, Cape Guy, you lost or something?" Superman turned, and there he was, perched on the edge of a glass skyscraper, arms crossed, mask reflecting the sun. Spider-Man. For a moment, both heroes stared at each other, two legends meeting for the very first time. "Nice outfit," Spider-Man quipped. "What are you, some kind of flying Boy Scout?" Superman smiled faintly. "I could ask you the same thing. You usually swing around cities talking to strangers?" "Only the ones who glow like walking solar panels," Peter shot back. "So what's your deal? Kryptonian invasion? Cosmic energy storm? You guys don't usually drop in unannounced." Before Clark could respond, a shockwave erupted in the distance, a glowing orb of unstable energy forming above the skyline. It pulsed with power that felt both familiar and wrong. Superman's expression hardened. "That doesn't belong here." And before Spider-Man could crack another joke, Superman was gone, a streak of light ripping across the horizon. Peter blinked. "Okay, he's fast. Great. Another Flash wannabe." But curiosity got the better of him. He fired a web line and followed. At the epicenter of the disturbance, chaos unfolded. Dozens of bystanders ran as buildings shook under the energy surge. Superman arrived first, using his heat vision to stabilize a collapsing bridge. Then, as debris rained from above, Spider-Man dove in, webbing chunks of concrete midair to save a mother and child. They exchanged a quick look. No words, just mutual understanding. Two heroes doing what they do best, saving lives. But the moment didn't last. From within the energy rift, two silhouettes emerged. One tall, bald, and smirking with sinister confidence. The other, a mechanical menace with metal arms slicing through the air. Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus. And for the first time ever, they stood side by side. "Impressive, isn't it?" Luthor said, his voice dripping with ego. "Two worlds merged into one. A place where we can both finally win." Octavius adjusted his goggles, his arms clanging behind him. "My calculations were correct. The dimensional breach stabilized perfectly. Together, we can eliminate both pests permanently." Superman's eyes glowed red. "Luthor, whatever you've done, correction, Lex interrupted, smirking. Whatever we've done. Before either hero could react, a blast of energy struck the ground, tearing through concrete and metal alike. The shockwave sent Spider-Man tumbling backward, webbing onto a streetlight to recover, while Superman barely flinched, his cape whipping in the wind. Spider-Man groaned. Okay, note to self, never interrupt bald guys when they're monologuing. The villains wasted no time. Luthor activated his anti-Kryptonian battlesuit, shimmering with red energy from synthetic kryptonite. Meanwhile, Dr. Octopus unleashed his mechanical fury, his tentacles slicing through cars and steel beams like paper. Superman charged at Luthor. Spider-Man flipped forward to meet Octavius. And just like that, two worlds were at war. For minutes, chaos ruled the streets. Superman's blows cracked the air like thunder. Spider-Man's acrobatics danced between destruction, his web shooters firing in perfect rhythm. They didn't know each other, didn't trust each other, but instinctively, they fought side by side. Still, something felt off. Their villains were coordinated, almost too coordinated. And both heroes started to realize this wasn't just a random team-up. It was a trap, because somewhere above them, hidden behind the energy rift, something or someone was pulling the strings. By the time the dust settled, the heroes were surrounded by collapsing debris. The villains had vanished, the energy field fading into static light. Superman floated down beside Spider-Man, offering his hand. "You fight well," Clark said. "Yeah," Peter replied, catching his breath. "You too. For a guy who can bench press planets, you're not half bad." Superman smiled. "We'll need to work together if we're going to stop whatever this is." Spider-Man looked up at the glowing sky. "Team-ups aren't usually my thing. But for you, I'll make an exception." And just like that, the world's strongest hero and the world's most relatable one became allies, for the first time in comic history. But neither of them knew this was only the beginning. Because Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus had plans that went far beyond revenge. They were about to test what happens when power meets responsibility. The next morning, chaos spread across both worlds. News networks in Metropolis and New York buzzed with impossible headlines. Dimensional rifts continued to expand. Energy signatures detected across multiple cities. Superman spotted in New York, Spider-Man in Metropolis. Reality had started to blur. The barrier between universes, once sealed, was now cracked open, and both sides were bleeding together. And at the center of it all were two men whose genius outmatched their morality. Lex Luthor and Dr. Otto Octavius. Hidden inside a colossal underground lab beneath LexCorp Tower, the two villains stood before a machine so massive it vibrated the air around it. A swirling core of red and blue energy pulsed in the chamber, the dimensional stabilizer. It was their creation, their shared vision, and their ultimate weapon. "You see, Otto," Luthor said, adjusting his gloves with calm precision, "I've spent my entire life proving that gods can bleed. Superman may be powerful, but he's predictable. You, on the other hand, you understand the beauty of control." Dr. Octopus smirked. "Control, yes, but not through fear. Through design. My goal has always been order. Power must be wielded by intellect, not sentiment." Luthor smiled. "Then we're in agreement. Together, we'll rid our worlds of their flawed icons. Superman and Spider-Man will be erased permanently." Octavius leaned closer to the glowing core. "And with their energy signatures merged into this construct, we could reshape both realities." "Precisely," Lex whispered. "A new world. Our world." But both men were lying to each other. Meanwhile, somewhere above the streets of New York, Spider-Man dangled upside down from a bridge, holding a communicator built from Superman's tech. "Okay, so if I press this button, you can hear me anywhere on the planet?" Superman's voice echoed through the device. "Yes, I modified the frequency to your spider tracers. We can coordinate across both cities." Peter grinned under his mask. Neat. You sure this won't fry my phone plan? You're joking again, Clark said dryly. Buddy, when I'm up against billionaires with death rays, joking's my therapy. The heroes had spent the last 12 hours chasing anomalies, strange energy flares linking both worlds. Each site had traces of LexCorp tech fused with Oscorp components, proof that their villains weren't just collaborating, they were merging their science. Superman's tone grew serious. If they stabilize this energy field, they could permanently fuse our universes. Spider-Man sighed. Yeah, I got that memo. Two worlds colliding. No boundaries, no separation. Guess that means two Aunt Mays, two Lois Lanes, and one very confused Daily Bugle. Clark almost smiled. Then we stop them before that happens. Cool. So just another Tuesday. Hours later, their search led them to LexCorp headquarters. Superman's X-ray vision scanned the tower, but even he couldn't see through the thick layers of lead and quantum shielding. They've hidden something deep underground, Clark muttered, and I can't risk breaking through. There could be civilians above. Spider-Man perched beside him on the roof, peering through binoculars. Yeah, about that subtlety's kind of my specialty. Let me sneak in. You're not going alone. Relax, Big Blue. If anything goes wrong, I'll call you faster than you can say up, and away. Inside the tower, Spider-Man moved like a shadow. He dodged laser grids, crawled across ceilings, and hacked into terminals faster than any human I could follow. But as he descended deeper, the air grew heavier, static, humming, unnatural. Then he saw it, the massive chamber, the glowing core, and standing before it, Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus. Peter froze, two of the most dangerous minds in history plotting together. He hit record on his camera. Jonah's gonna lose his mind when he sees this. But before he could move, a metal arm shot out of the darkness, smashing the wall behind him. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Octavius hissed, eyes gleaming. Spider-Man flipped back, barely avoiding another strike. Doc Ock, we've been over this. Stop stalking me. Luthor turned, smirking. The spider. You're early to your funeral. Nice suit, Lex. Who's your tailor, Satan? Superman's voice crackled through the communicator. Peter, what's happening? Long story short, I found the bad guys. And they're kinda cranky. Before Spider-Man could blink, Luthor fired a blast from his battlesuit. The beams slammed him into a wall, crackling with red energy that burned through his webbing. Superman, Peter gasped. Now would be a great time to crash the party. And just as Luthor raised his gauntlet to finish the job, the wall exploded. Superman burst through like a missile, his punch shattering Luthor's shield in a single blow. Step away from him, Luthor. The alien arrives, Lex sneered. Perfect. Octavius attacked, his arms whipping forward like serpents. Superman grabbed one mid-strike and twisted, metal groaning under his strength. But Doc Ock adapted instantly, using his arms to redirect the force, slamming Superman through a generator. Spider-Man leapt onto Luthor's back, ripping out the kryptonite cells from his armor. Luthor roared in pain, tossing him aside. Insect! Man, Peter groaned. You billionaires really need hobbies. The room lit up with energy as the dimensional stabilizer roared to life. The floor cracked, reality itself shimmering. Both worlds began to vibrate, merging, phasing, colliding. Superman and Spider-Man stood side by side as the villains rose again. Luthor snarled, "You can't stop us. You think you're heroes, but you're just pawns in something greater." Spider-Man cocked his head. Yeah? And you're about 5 seconds away from an uppercut. The machine pulsed, and suddenly beams of pure energy shot outward, linking to both heroes. Their powers, Kryptonian and radioactive, started being siphoned. The chamber filled with light. And in that moment, Lex and Otto's plan became clear. They weren't just merging worlds. They were merging power. Spider-Man screamed as his strength flickered. Superman staggered, his skin dimming as the artificial red sun energy drained him. Both villains laughed as the core swelled brighter. But in that chaos, something unexpected happened. Their energies, Kryptonian solar cells and spider-enhanced bioelectric fields, began interacting. The feedback loop surged beyond Lex's control. Impossible! Luthor shouted. Octavius screamed. The containment is breaking. Superman clenched his fists, forcing strength through sheer will. Peter, pull the stabilizer's cables. Spider-Man fired 2 webs into the core's base and yanked with everything he had. The machine exploded. Light consumed the chamber. And then, silence. When the smoke cleared, the villains were gone. The machine was destroyed. And both heroes stood barely standing. You okay? Superman asked, helping Peter up. I just fought 2 evil geniuses and survived. I'll call that a win. Superman looked out the shattered wall. It's not over. Whatever they unleashed, it's still out there. Peter sighed. Figures. Guess we're the cleanup crew now. And somewhere deep in the void between worlds, 2 faint figures drifted through the rift. Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus. Their minds linking, their ambition unbroken. They had seen the potential of merging worlds. And next time, they wouldn't fail. Because for them, the real game had just begun. The world was breaking. New York shimmered with impossible echoes. Skyscrapers flickering between the Daily Planet and the Daily Bugle, between Gotham Neon and Avengers Tech. The sky was no longer blue. It pulsed, red, then gold, as if reality itself couldn't decide which universe it belonged to. Superman hovered above the chaos, his cape whipping in the solar wind. Below him, Spider-Man swung between collapsing buildings, his mask cracked, his mind racing. They destroyed the stabilizer, but at a cost. Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus were gone, at least physically, yet their machine had left a scar between universes. Now that scar was alive. At first, it was just light. Then came the distortion, space folding like glass, warping gravity and time. And from the heart of the rift, emerged something horrifying. A shape, humanoid, but shifting, flickering between 2 forms. One moment it bore the glowing eyes of Luthor, the next the metallic limbs of Octavius. It wasn't man or machine anymore. It was both. A digital mind merged from genius and madness, the Lex Octavius entity. Its voice boomed across both skies. You call yourselves protectors, but your worlds thrive on chaos. We will bring them order by fusing them into perfection. Superman's eyes narrowed. Luthor, what have you done? The entity's grin stretched unnaturally. We've evolved. Superman turned to Spider-Man. We can't let it stabilize. If this fusion completes, both universes will collapse into one permanently. Peter landed beside him on a broken rooftop. So, we punched the god computer. Got it. But Superman hesitated. His mind raced. The rift is feeding on our energy signatures. Every time I fight, it strengthens. We might be making it worse. Spider-Man frowned. Wait, are you saying stop fighting? Clark, the guy's literally turning reality into spaghetti. I'm saying there may be another way. Peter crossed his arms. You always have the noble alien solution, huh? What about the people down there? What about my city? Superman's expression hardened. I'm thinking about everyone's city. And in that second of hesitation, the rift unleashed a surge of pure energy, striking both heroes with devastating force. They were blasted apart, each hurled into fragments of the other's reality. Superman crashed through the skyline of his own world. Only wasn't the metropolis he knew. The Daily Planet was fused with Stark Tower, the streets filled with strange hybrids, Gotham cops beside shield drones. And across the sky floated fragments of New York, colliding in slow motion. The entity's voice echoed through the storm. You see, Kal-El, humanity doesn't need gods. It needs architects. It needs us. Superman's eyes glowed red. You're not gods. You're parasites. He shot upward, breaking through collapsing clouds, hurling himself toward the rift. Every punch tore holes through the distortion. Every blast of heat vision carved a path. But with every strike, the rift grew brighter, hungrier. It wasn't weakening, it was learning. Miles away, or perhaps universes apart, Spider-Man tumbled across a half-destroyed bridge, surrounded by echoes of the Daily Planet globe falling into the Brooklyn skyline. The energy storm twisted around him like a living hurricane. He crawled his feet, groaning. Okay, definitely not Kansas anymore. Then, out of the blinding light, appeared something impossible, Superman, or something wearing his face. This Superman's eyes burned crimson, his symbol distorted, twisted into the shape of LexCorp's logo. The entity had created a clone, merging Kryptonian DNA with spider-enhanced biology, the perfect hybrid soldier. It landed with a shockwave that sent Peter flying. Superman. Peter coughed. You got a haircut. And an evil glow-up. The clone said nothing. It charged. Peter ducked under the first punch, a hit that shattered concrete. Okay, definitely not my buddy Clark. He fired a web line to a falling building, swung around, and kicked the clone square in the jaw. It didn't budge. Instead, it grabbed him midair and hurled him through 3 skyscrapers. Peter landed hard, bones screaming. Ow! So this is what Batman feels like. He looked up. The clone was descending slowly, cape torn, eyes unfeeling. And for a moment, Peter realized this wasn't a fight he could win. Not physically. So he improvised. All right, big guy, he muttered, pulling out a small EMP cartridge. Let's see how smart Lexoc made you. He threw it. The pulse detonated midair, shorting the clone's neural circuits for just a second. Peter leapt, webbing its face, using the momentum to slam it into the ground with everything he had. It roared, struggling. And before it could recover, a shadow loomed above. Superman, the real one, crashed into the scene, his fist connecting with the clone's chest like a meteor. The impact tore the sky apart. Both heroes stood side by side, breathing hard. Spider-Man looked up at him. Nice of you to drop in. Superman smirked. Had to make sure you weren't stealing my cape. Please. I'd trip over it. But the humor faded as the sky above tore open completely. A black hole of energy swirling with red lightning. The Lex Octavius entity descended, now fully formed. A mechanical god towering over cities. Enough resistance, it thundered. You've proven your worth. Join us, or vanish with your worlds. Superman stepped forward. You'll have to erase me first. Spider-Man added, and me second. I call dibs on being the quippy last line before the explosion. They launched forward together. Superman tore through the entity's armor, ripping out cables of energy that pulsed with kryptonite light. Spider-Man darted between blasts, planting web bombs into its exposed circuits. Their attacks synchronized, instinctive, perfect. For a moment, the impossible worked. The entity faltered. Its systems destabilized. Its voice glitched. Logic fracturing. Unknown variable. Human defiance. Superman looked at Peter. Now! Spider-Man fired a line of web into Superman's gauntlet, channeling the remaining energy between them. Superman flew upward, dragging the web line with him, and hurled the combined force straight into the rift's heart. Light exploded. The sky screamed, and everything went white. When the light faded, both heroes awoke in silence. New York was whole again. Metropolis stood tall. The rift was gone. Superman looked around, dazed. Did it work? Spider-Man sat up beside him, mask torn. If by work, you mean we didn't explode, then yeah. I'll call it a win. They stood in the middle of a quiet street that looked wrong. A hybrid of both their worlds, Daily Planet beside Oscorp, a skyline that didn't belong to either universe. Superman's expression turned thoughtful. Maybe it's not over. Maybe the merge left something behind. Peter grinned. Hey, if it means I get a big belly burger in New York, I'm fine with it. The two shook hands. Until next time, Superman said. Yeah, Peter nodded. But next time, maybe we fight someone else. Above them, high in orbit, a faint shimmer lingered, the last echo of the rift. And deep within it a whisper, evolution never ends.